Ah, what is this awful smell? The water here stinks like rotted fish and chemical. It is clear that pollution is ruining our rivers and ocean. How can marine life even survive in this situation? We need to stop dumping waste into our rivers and start protecting our ocean before it's way too late.
Human generates vast amount of waste through dairy activity, industry, and agriculture, much of which eventually ends up in the ocean harming marine life and ecosystem as the global population exceeds 8 billion. The waste we produce is increasing at an alarming rate. More people mean higher consumption, greater waste generation, and immense pressure on natural resources, including our ocean.
Welcome to Ripple Effect, the documentary explains how an everyday action impact marine life and ecosystem, just like a recovery in the water. Small change in human behavior can lead to big change of the elementary.
ในโลกเนี้ยทุกๆปีขยะ33,000 ล้านปอนด์จะถูกปล่อยลงในมหาสมุทรซึ่งเป็นอันตรายต่อแบบระบบนิเวศเลยล่ะแล้วก็สัตว์คิดว่าพลาสติกเป็นอาหารแล้วก็จะทำให้แบบบางครั้งไปพันสัตว์ทำให้บาดเจ็บหรือเสียชีวิตได้การรั่วไหลของน้ำมันที่เกิดจากเรือขนส่งน้ำมันทำให้สัตว์หายใจไม่ออกในขณะที่แบบเห็นปะในขณะที่เขาเรียกว่าโรงงานหรือฟาร์มปล่อยสารเคมีลงสู่แม่น้ำทะเลก็จะทำให้เกิดมลพิษทางน้ำได้
Right here in Thailand, many waterways form plastic waste and chemical pollution, both affecting marine species and human health. Solution 1. 3R. Reduce, reuse, and recycle plastic and auto waste. 2. Stronger regulation on industrial waste disposal and oil spill management. 3. Community clean-up projects to reduce in local river and bay.
Uncontrolled fishing threatens marine ecosystem. Untenable fishing practices lead to the decline of fish population, restricting the predator for the food chain illegally. Methods such as dynamite fishing and cyanide poisoning further destroy underwater emissions.
Solution: fishing quota and regulation. Government must limit overfishing. Customer average shooting certified. Sustainable seafood and advocating for ecofishing practice. Climate change. The ocean is warming and marine life is structured to adapt. Rising temperature case coral bleaching affecting thousands of species. Ocean acidification weaken shellfish. Why melting? Polar ice sea level. Changing coastal ecosystem. Solution: reduce carbon emission, switch to renewable energy, reduce device use, and support eco-friendly business product. Blue carbon ecosystem, preserve mangroves, sea creeks, and wetland. Why naturally absorbs carbon dioxide.
Coastal development. Bottom story. Pollution are destroy marine habitat. Coral reef, seagull beds, and mangroves are disappearing, leaving marine life without shelter and food. Solution 1. Marine protect area. Establishing no fishing zone to allow ecosystem to recover. 2. Promote sustainable tourism, encouraging responsible travel practice, and enforcing fine for littering and environment.
โอ้ดูดิน้ำลำดวนแบบเหม็นมากอ่ะ
เอ
มัน
อ
เขียวมาก
เหมือนจริง
ที่ดูถ้าแบบน้ำเนี่ยไปอยู่ในทะเลอะมันจะเป็นยังไงอ่ะ
โหคงแย่น่าดูอ่ะคงเหม็นอ่ะ ใช่
Plastic problem has created one of the biggest environmental threats to our planet.
Since the beginning of the plastics industry in the early 1950s, the use of this material has exploded.
We call it Plastics Town, USA. The table is set with polyethylene products too.
Around 8.3 billion tons of plastic have been created by humans since then, and of the plastic waste produced between 1950 and 2015, only 9% was recycled. Instead of being recycled, the plastic ends up in landfills, oceans, waterways, and in our food most of the time. It is now estimated that there are 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic debris in the ocean, and that number is increasing by around 13 million metric tons of plastic every year. That's the equivalent of one garbage truck load's worth every minute. Ocean currents cause some of this to collect in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, an accumulation of trash that covers around 1.6 million square kilometers, an area twice the size of Texas or 3 times the size of France. And it gets worse. People worldwide use approximately 500 billion single-use plastic bags per year, about 150 bags a year per person.
Very often they can only be used once. Then they are thrown in the bin or they end up as litter in parks and even in the sea.
Such amounts of plastic waste have a devastating effect on marine life. Plastic waste is estimated to kill 100,000 marine animals and 1 million seabirds a year. But that's not the worst of it. Plastic waste can take decades or centuries to fully decompose, but it more quickly breaks down into microplastics. These are tiny pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length, according to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. These microplastics are now found in every part of the food chain, from salt to drinking water. Governments have finally begun taking action against plastic waste.
Canada is moving ahead with a plan to reduce plastic waste.
From now on, pharmacies like this one will no longer be able to hand out these small single-use plastic bags to clients.
Rwanda seems to be determined to lead the way to a world without plastic bags.
One country in Latin America has set a goal to eliminate all single-use plastics by the year 2020.
In January 2020, China, one of the world's biggest users of plastic, banned the use of non-biodegradable bags in major cities by the end of 2020 and in all cities by 2022. The country also forbade the restaurant industry from using single-use straws by the end of 2020. This is because China has a huge garbage problem. Its largest rubbish dump filled up 25 years ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, in March 2019, the European Parliament voted to ban single-use plastic cutlery, cotton buds, straws, and stirrers.
Plastic straws, stirrers, and cotton buds could be banned in England.
The ban is set to come into effect by 2021 in all European Union member states. In addition, the legislation states that plastic bottles should be made of 25% recycled content by 2025, and 90% of them should be recycled by 2029. Canada also announced it would ban single-use plastics by 2021.
Early as 2021, Canada will ban harmful single-use plastics from coast to coast to coast.
This came after it was revealed that the country recycles only 10% of its plastic. In the meantime, several African nations, such as Tanzania, have implemented strict plastic bag bans, and Africa is leading the way in banning single-use plastic. Tanzania has also extended its ban to tourists. If you are visiting the country, any plastic bags you have will be confiscated at the airport, In addition to bans, there are also efforts underway to clean up the plastic debris from our oceans. One such effort is called the Ocean Cleanup. This is a non-governmental organization based in the Netherlands that is working to develop ways of removing plastic pollution from the oceans. The Ocean Cleanup claims to be running the largest ocean cleanup in history and aims to remove 90% of ocean plastic pollution. That is a very lofty goal, and it could make a true difference if achieved. 6 months ago, the organization announced that its latest ocean prototype system, called System 001/B, had started to collect plastic debris from the ocean. The system uses the natural forces of the ocean to passively catch and concentrate plastic. The organization is also working on a newer system, called System 002. According to the Ocean Cleanup, it will be a full-scale cleanup system that is able to both endure and retain the collected plastic for long periods of time. This is some much-needed good news in a sea of rubbish. With the bans expanding around the world and efforts to clean up the oceans well underway, we begin to see some improvement on our plastic problem. But this will only really be solved once we have stopped using some types of plastics altogether. Will we be able to reverse the damage caused by plastic waste? Only time can tell.
Plastic is wonderful because it's durable, and plastic is terrible because it is durable. Almost every piece of plastic ever made is still on the planet in some form or another. Plastic production globally this year is expected to be more than 300 million tonnes.
Half of which we'll use just once and then throw away. By 2050, when the population explodes to almost 10 billion people, it's expected that plastic production will triple. The problem with that is that today only a fraction of the plastic that we produce is recycled. The rest ends up in our environment, and it's coating our land and our oceans like a disease.
Garbage thrown away in the United States can make its way to Antarctica. Plastic in our coastal waters is pulled into the centre of massive wind-driven, churning circular gyres. There are many other ocean currents also diverting the trash all around the surface of the ocean. In reality, it's just one ocean with no boundaries. Lord Howe Island is a World Heritage Site and home to migratory seabirds like the shearwater. Seabirds are incredibly helpful because they act like an army of scientists. They travel thousands of miles across the ocean. They pick up plastic off the surface of the ocean. They bring it back to their rookeries where they feed it to their chicks, and that provides an incredible amount of scientific data in terms of where the plastic comes from, its distribution, and how it breaks up on the ocean surface. Dr. Jennifer Lavers, she'd devoted her life to studying the plight of seabirds. Shearwaters are incredible birds. They migrate thousands of miles, stopping only here to breed.
Yeah, the stomach is very, very full, and if we look here, there's some very dark pieces, some very light white pieces, and if you see, as I push on this, it's absolutely rigid, completely full of plastic all the way up.
Oh, look at that.
Absolutely no doubt that this bird died as a
Stuffed full
result
of
of that
plastic.
plastic. That is literally a gut full of plastic. It's quite alarming, isn't it?
Oh, that's awful.
Range of plastic types and colours. We've got everything from the blues and the reds
His
to the
stomach's just filled with it. Big pieces too.
big
Like
sharp
heavy.
pieces.
Oh wow, look at the size of that big black piece.
That is an enormous piece of plastic.
Unbelievable. Look at the size of that. Jen, I counted 234 pieces of plastic out of that one bird. Is that a record?
Not even close, unfortunately. So for the species, the record is 276 pieces of plastic inside of one 90-day-old chick. And that plastic, when we weighed it out, accounted for 15% of that bird's body mass. So that's a pretty scary statistic. If we translate that into human terms, it gets even worse. That would be equivalent to you and I having somewhere around 6 or 8 kilos of plastic inside of your stomach. It's equivalent to about 12 pizzas worth of food inside of your stomach. It's quite a bit of plastic for just one little bird. The parents were trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of squid beaks in here, and this purple colour is evidence of the squid ink. It's just a shame that every now and then they got it wrong and got it wrong in a bad way. Really is quite an overwhelming thing. I do have some pretty rough days, have to go home and really wrap my mind around where do we go from here.
As a Pacific Islander, I know that the ocean is in deep trouble. The very authoritative prediction shows that by the year 2050, there'll be as much plastic as there is fish in the ocean by weight. Every country uses plastic. We need to start rationalizing that. We need to think about reuse of plastic, single-use plastic. It's got to be on its way out. And you know, plastic shopping bags are a good example of that. Your family does not need to use them. Take a cloth bag with you when you go shopping and put your shopping in there. There's an equivalent of a large garbage truck every minute of every day backing up to the ocean and just dumping plastic into it. We really have to look at ourselves and say, do we deserve this beautiful ocean that was given to us?
Ocean pollution is one of the most serious environmental issues we're currently facing as a species. If we continue with the current rate of plastic waste, we will have real seas of plastic around the year of 2050, killing our marine life. In this The Daily Eco video, we're going to analyze the cause of plastic waste in our oceans, as well as the consequences that this entails. In addition, we'll talk about the possible solutions to this problem. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Causes of plastic waste in the ocean. When we dispose of plastics that we no longer use, they can follow several routes. They can be incinerated, recycled, end up in a landfill, or anywhere else if we don't dispose of them properly. Those that are not recycled or incinerated, even those that are still in the yellow container, can be washed into the sea or the ocean due to the wind or the rain. In addition, we also find plastic in the sea that originate from deliberate dumping of garbage, accidental dumping from ships, or due to sewage treatment plants. None of this would happen on such a large scale if we didn't manufacture this amount of plastic that we do in the first place. Types of plastic in the ocean. More than 80% of marine litter is plastic. Of this percentage, we can confirm that 49% corresponds to single-use plastic, a truly alarming amount. Another 27% corresponds to plastic used in fishing equipment, and the remaining 6% is other plastic. The most common single-use plastics that have been found on the beaches and seabed are lids, bottles, cigarette butts, cotton buds, snack wrappers, hygiene items, plastic bags, Tupperware, straws, plates, glasses, balloons, and food containers. These products represent 86% of single-use plastics, or 43% of all marine litter. Some have even been found 10,000 meters in depth. However, some areas, which are called plastic islands, have been identified where they have a great concentration of plastic. Before we continue, let's put you to the test. How much plastic is already accumulated in our oceans? Is it A, 50 million tons, B, 100 million tons, or C, 150 million tons? Think about it, because at the end of the video, you'll be able to find out if you were right. Consequences of plastic in the ocean. On one hand, plastic waste causes entanglement in certain marine animals, hindering their development and even causing their death. Some of these animals mistake the pieces of plastic for their usual food, something that can block their stomach and also lead to their death. Likewise, human beings also ingest these materials as a consequence of the food chain. In addition, in the long process of decomposition, microplastics and nanoplastics release chemicals that are harmful to life in ocean waters. On the other hand, there are some species of bacteria that develop on plastic, which moves freely and take them to ecosystems that they're not adapted to. And lastly, plastic waste in the ocean also has a negative impact on our economy, especially the tourism and the fishing sectors. Solutions for plastic waste. The solutions must involve producers, consumers, and those who manage waste, but of course it has to be supported by the governments. The main solutions we propose are: reduce the consumption of plastic and avoid using single-use plastic. In fact, the European Parliament has approved a ban on single-use plastics from 2021. Buy foods that are sold in bulk so you can avoid buying plasticized and packaged foods in excess. Avoid using cosmetics and microplastics and opt for biodegradable clothing. Reuse. If you already have plastic products, try to reuse them as much as possible. Recycle. Leave the plastic in the right place to be properly processed so it doesn't end up in our oceans. Demand that more efficient recycling methods be available, as there are still types of plastic that cannot be recycled. Lastly, another solution that can help is to create taxes for the most polluting plastic. This way, companies will make an extra effort to opt for plastic that can be recycled or biodegradable options, which is even better. There are also solutions for the plastic that is already in the ocean, such as the Ocean Cleanup Project. This is a mechanism that collects the garbage from the sea with the help of structures designed properly so as to not cause damage to the fauna and flora. Another project, devised by Norwegian tycoon, is the launch of a large research vessel that will pursue novel solutions for cleaning plastic from the oceans. Finally, recycling can be improved with the help of bacteria that ingest PET. And going back to the question we had asked you before, have you thought about it? The correct answer is C. In our seas and oceans, there are 150 million tons of accumulated plastic. In fact, it's estimated that no less than 4.8 to 12.7 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans each year. So, tell us in the comments below, what are you going to do to reduce plastic waste in the ocean? We hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
ตรงนั้นมีคนลองไปถามเขาดูไหมได้สิ
Hey, you ever been to the beach? Oh yes, I have been to the beach. Why do you think that marine conversation is important? I think marine conservation is important because the oceans are literally the most essential to the life on Earth. They provide over half of world oxygen, regulate climate, and support millions of life forms. So without the conservation effort, our ocean will be ruined, and so will the humanity. That's why I think marine conservation is very important.
Oh, okay. Thank you for answering my question.
Oh, thank you.
ลองไปถามได้ขอโทษนะครับขอถามคำถามได้ไหมครับ
ได้ค่ะ
คิดว่ามลพิษทางน้ำในประเทศไทยส่งผลกระทบต่อสมุทรอย่างไรอะ
เราว่าพอมันเป็นมลพิษทางน้ำเนี่ยอาจจะหมายถึงการที่เราทิ้งขยะลงในแหล่งน้ำหรือเปล่าแล้ว เพราะว่าบางแหล่งน้ำมันก็จะเชื่อมต่อกับมหาสมุทรใช่ปะแล้วทีเนี้ยพอมันเชื่อมต่อกันอ่ะบางทีขยะของเราอ่ะมันไหลลงไปสู่มหาสมุทรพวกน้ำมันดิบก๊าซพิษที่เราปล่อยลงแม่น้ำชุมชนมันก็อาจจะแบบไหลลงไปแล้วก็ทำให้พวกปะการังเสียหายหรือเปล่าแล้วก็เหมือนที่เราเห็นนะว่าจะมีข่าวเยอะเลยเนาะที่ว่าเป็นข่าวเต่าทะเลขยะอยู่ในทะเลไม่ก็เหมือนสัตว์ทะเลกินอาหารที่เป็นถุงพลาสติกเข้าไปแล้วมันก็ไปอุดตันในลำไส้มันก็น่ากลัวเนาะแบบคิดว่าแล้วก็อย่างหนึ่งที่ทราบว่าถ้าเกิดเราเป็นคนที่ไปเที่ยวไปทะเลเราก็อยากเห็นภาพทะเลที่มันสวยๆมีท้องฟ้าสีครามน้ำสีน้ำเงินเข้มเดินไปเจอคลื่นสะอาดซัดมามันก็อาจจะดีแต่ถ้าเกิดชายหาดมันมีขยะมันก็เสียอารมณ์มาเนาะ
ใช่
ประมาณเนี้ย
ขอบคุณที่ตอบคำถามนะครับ
ค่ะ
ไหนๆเราก็แบบคุยเรื่องน้ำที่ลำดวนเนี่ย
ใช่
ถามเขาว่าไหนๆเราก็ไปถามเขาเลยดีไหม
ได้
ถามเลยขอโทษนะครับขอสัมภาษณ์หน่อยได้ไหมคือจะถามว่าภัยคุกคามที่ใหญ่ที่สุดต่อความยั่งยืนของน้ำในปัจจุบันคืออะไรอะครับผมคิดว่าภัยคุกคามที่ใหญ่ที่สุดก็คือการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพอากาศค่ะเช่นภัยแล้งน้ำท่วมมลพิษทางน้ำที่เกิดจากอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆการตัดไม้ทำลายป่า ซึ่งอาจทำลายระบบนิเวศแหล่งต้นน้ำแล้วก็การใช้น้ำอย่างไม่มีประสิทธิภาพค่ะขอบคุณค่ะขอบคุณนะครับผมที่ตอบคำถามนะครับ
นั่นไงเป็นคนอย่างเงี้ย
โทษนะครับขอสัมภาษณ์หน่อยได้ไหมครับได้ครับคิดว่าบุคคลสามารถกระทำการใดได้บ้างเพื่อลดผลกระทบต่อระบบนิเวศทางทะเลอะครับก็เก็บขยะในน้ำครับผมแล้วก็รณรงค์ห้ามทิ้งขยะลงแม่น้ำขอบคุณนะครับขอบคุณที่ตอบคำถามครับผมขอบคุณมากครับผมรอบไปจับได้โทษนะครับขอถามคำถามหน่อยได้ไหมครับคำถามอะไรนะครับคิดว่าการประมงแบบยั่งยืนมีบทบาทอย่างไรต่อชีวิตทางทะเลอะครับ
อ๋อการประมงแบบยั่งยืนเหรอครับผมคิดว่านะการที่เราเนี่ยรักษาระบบนิเวศใช่ไหมแบบการประมงแบบยั่งยืนนะแบบไม่จับปลาทีเดียวหมดนะจะทำให้แบบถึงแม้ว่าครั้งแรกเราจับปลาทั้งหมดใช่ไหมชาวบ้านจะมีรายได้เยอะก็จริงแต่หลังจากผ่านไปปลาก็เริ่มระบบนิเวศก็เริ่มถูกทำลายปลาก็เริ่มน้อยลงพอปลาเริ่มน้อยลงปุ๊บเนี่ยใช่ไหมชาวบ้านที่เคยหาปลาได้จำนวนมากๆมันก็ลดน้อยลงกลับกันเนี่ยถ้าเกิดว่าเราเนี่ยจับปลาแบบยั่งยืนใช่ไหมค่อยๆจับแล้วก็ให้มันโตเราจะจับมาขายเรื่อยๆเรื่อยๆเรื่อยๆชาวบ้านก็มีกินมีใช้ระบบนิเวศก็ยังอยู่เป็นปกติของมันครับ
ขอบคุณครับขอบคุณที่ตอบคำถามนะครับ
ครับ
The health of life below water is crucial for the survival of marine ecosystem and human societies. Governments, industries, and individuals must take responsibility for reducing pollution, promoting a sustainable fishing, mitigating climate change, and protecting marine habitats. Every action, big or small, creates a ripple effect. Together, we can restore our balance of oceans and ensure a sustainable future of water life.